Okay, welcome everybody. Hi, ladies. Hopefully, you're having a great day. And we are in
Yeah.
our letting let them theory book club, and this is, I think, our third or fourth session. I don't remember. And we're doing chapters 8 and 9 today. 8 is around making a wrong decision or a right decision, but decision making. And the next one is about life isn't fair. So, do I have a volunteer who wants to go with an example that you have from chapter 8?
I definitely can go, Sue.
Okay.
First of all, oftentimes when we tell each other that you are doing the right thing, that phrase by itself feels heavy.
Mhm.
So, doing the right thing, honestly, it's not easy. And it takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of determination because the person who took the decision to make the right thing will receive a lot of pushback. So holding on to your grounds, hold the line, so to speak, it's not an easy process. And I can give you two examples where doing the right thing felt heavy to the limit that, deep down I questioned myself. First of all, I said to myself, you know, who would recognize it? Who would say I did the right thing and would say thank you? And to be honest, the answer was nobody, let alone that, people would appreciate it. The first example was again from my days working in nonprofits. Unfortunately, sometimes when you have a founder of the nonprofit
Mhm.
receives the organization as being their own, so it's something they own. It's not an independent entity. From that perspective, the founder chose to use the EN number, which is like the social security number for the organization, to apply for a grant. However, the EN number was used to apply for his for profit organization. Per IRS requirement, this is illegal, literally illegal. And the nonprofit could lose its nonprofit classification because it's not serving a community, it's not serving its mission. It's serving as a pathway, so to speak, to generate profit for a for profit.
Mhm.
So that was the dangerous piece right there. Unfortunately, it fell on me, or fortunately, to kind of communicate that message to the person. They didn't receive it well at all. And they thought I'm trying to pick a fight with them, or I'm trying to be too legal zealous, so to speak. What they didn't know is that they will be not only liable, but they could be held to account. Committing these acts should not be taken lightly. It's not only that the organization would lose its nonprofit status, but the person could be held accountable as well, along with anyone else who empowers them. So I kept pushing and pushing until the person stopped. They never appreciated it. They felt like, how dare she tells me what's right and wrong? Um, you know, why is she picking up this fight with me? They took it personally, even though I sent all the legal provisions. So I didn't just say this is not acceptable and that's it. I communicated, the legal provisions. I explained why this is not acceptable. the consequences.
Right.
Nevertheless, the person continued in their pathway to kind of hold on to whatever it is they feel entitled to. Honestly, I felt alone. I felt vulnerable. I felt the entire weight of this decision fell on me. Nevertheless, each time I ask myself, did I do the right thing? I answer yes.
Mhm.
Was it easy? No. So, what I recommend to any person who finds themselves in, these positions, first of all, to determine the decision that they want to go forward with. Second, to find some sort of a support. To be honest with you, the only support I found was through the HR company that was responsible for,
Mhm.
providing HR services. Second, of course, I sought some legal consultation on my own, and that was really also very helpful.
Mhm.
The thing is, there are no clear boundaries as to what people perceive to be right and wrong.
Mhm.
Um, each person feels like this is my decision.
Mhm.
This is what I'm entitled to. This looks right to me. Is it true? That is the other question.
Yeah.
And what are the consequences?
Mhm.
In terms of consequences, people need to be careful because, not only they can be held to account, but also other people may pay a price they shouldn't be paying. And that should not be taken lightly. It's not about, pointing a finger and say, you did the wrong thing. It's all for, your responsibility. I had nothing to do with it. But it's all about how can we collaborate to share the burden of decision making.
Right.
And that was my experience.
I'm hearing that you, I don't know if you were invited to help in that decision or if you just knew you needed to, with your integrity to warn he or she. Um, but you kind of knew you had to speak up.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, leadership has to do with your ability to make the right decision for the organization. From this perspective, I knew what was going on.
Mhm.
And, that knowledge and, my ability to continue seeing what's allowed and what's not allowed, what is required from a nonprofit, where to draw the boundaries, where is the red line that you should not be crossing at any time. That what kind of motivates me not only to put an end to all of that,
Mhm.
but to continue pushing forward
Right.
until the issue was resolved and no one used the EN number inappropriately or to support a for profit versus
Sure.
supporting a nonprofit. Furthermore, oftentimes grantors would know. So when you read the grant and when you read the materials, you can tell
Sure.
who's responsible for what, where is the money going. You would look at the budget. And, what the founder did not know at the time is that they will not only disapprove of or reject the grant, but they would be reporting them. So that was a worse
Right.
position for everybody. The organization would have been flagged, the issue would have been escalated. And nevertheless, as I told you, the person continued to take it personally. They didn't appreciate that. Honestly, I helped them out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they would
Yes,
have been in
yeah.
hot water.
Well, what I have one question, because as a leader, what do you get that message to move forward no matter what the barriers? Do you get it in your gut? Do you get it in your head, your heart? Where does it resonate with you so that you know that you need to do it, even if it's hard?
Honestly, one tool that I always use is the decision making matrix. So basically, it's a tool that's available to any leader. And it would literally allow you to score your decision.
Okay.
So when you are making a decision as a leader, you don't just base it on your gut, your knowledge, your previous experience, but on what's going on. And then you would get a number. You would get literally a number that would guide you in your decision making. If you need to learn more about this tool, it's available on my website. If you want the URL, it's thelanguageofsuccess.net. The website is called The Communication of Success, so to speak, because I want every person, leader and educator, to communicate their success using language.
Well, that's
So there's a lot available out there on my website, and you can review the information for free.
good. Well,
I
that's
would say that doing the right thing oftentimes doesn't make us the hero, right? We know it's the right thing, but
Absolutely.
nobody knows it. And oftentimes, if they know what we're trying to do, they push back. And so you have to have a real decided, you have to decide in your mind.
And- yeah.
You have to be strong on where
yeah,
you're
and
going.
sometimes, though, if you know you have to move ahead, it's more painful not to do what you know you need to do. You know what I mean? It's
Absolutely, especially when the stakes are high. You know, you cannot jeopardize the existence of an organization just because someone wanted to do something in their mind.
right.
They perceived it to be the right call. Keep in mind, there was no discussion. So there wasn't any discussion, hey, let's sit down, let's discuss this opportunity. How can we move forward with it? And that was, again, the scary part. It's
Yeah.
very difficult for someone who built something from the ground up to let go of it, to think of it as an independent entity,
Right.
something that exists beyond them.
Yeah.
And that's the scary part. And this is kind of the Achilles heel of any founder,
That's right.
who is involved in the process.
That's a good point. Yes, Cynthia.
Mishkat, would you put your website in the chat bar?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for asking. I am honored.
So, is Sandy or Cynthia, or you want to go next?
I'm going to add something to Mishkat's in that I listened to another podcast that Mel Robbins conducted just last week, and it was on September 28th, if you get Mel Robbins' podcast. And she was interviewing a man named Dr. Todd Rose, and he is a professor at Harvard, graduate school education, and he founded the Laboratory for Science and Individuality. And his whole book, his new book that just came out, is on honoring your own individual authenticity. And it was the strongest podcast I've listened to in a long time. I was just struck with, the research is huge, how they've researched young people to go with the collective, and they make their decisions based on the collective mentality instead of going inside. And as Sue asked, do you feel it in your heart? Do you feel it in your head? Do you get it in your gut? Where do you get your authenticity role so you can step up and disagree, but offer your opinion? This is decision making with research behind you, Ms. Gat. I thought it was that's the only thing I'm going to contribute right now because it's worth. I couldn't find the title of his book, but if you look up Todd Rose,
Okay.
Authenticity.
Thank you. That's great because it's very true. And what connected to me just then was we have been teaching kids how to do the collective,
Right.
and the individual, and that starts in preschool.
Right.
We teach kids how to be collaborative and not understand themselves, and so that self-awareness and what do we call it now? I can't remember the word, but
Maybe advocacy, self-advocacy. You advocate for your own self.
advocacy for yourself. We don't garner that, and we need to think of that as well, because that's a really, really, really good point. And we've been doing the collective stuff probably for 20 years now with kids. We do the magic circle, and the communication stuff is important, but we also have to have kids know themselves. And I'm going to go next because you reminded me of what mine was, Mishka.
And so just before you go, I put the website in there, but I'm not sure it's visible.
Okay.
It says private chat only.
Okay.
So just in case.
Well, I'll make sure it gets in our notes. How's that?
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I often get awareness signals of a decision I'm supposed to make. And I think I get it. I'm going to say I get it in my heart and my gut and my knower. Call it my knower. And I knew probably about the last 3 months before I left my principalship that I was supposed to leave. And nobody wanted me to leave. I didn't want to tell anybody, but I knew that, it's like the spirit was telling me, you need to go do something else. And it was pretty cut and dried as I realized what the decision was. It got scarier and scarier because I didn't want my staff to know. I didn't, I think I talked a little bit to my supervisor about it, but I told her not to say anything. And I knew it was going to be hard. And but it just got more and more real, that I was supposed to leave. And it was like almost like a foreboding warning. I won't give you the analogy that I got, but it was like, or else you need to do this or else. And so I did decide, and I really had to close my eyes to the feedback I was going to get because I knew it wasn't going to be pretty. People weren't wanting me to leave. My supervisor, feathered the bed by saying, well, I can give you, where do you want to go? I'll put you somewhere else, and I know I have to leave. And so where I went with who's this going to affect and how am I going to spread the news, So I came up with I prayed about it, and I came up with a methodology, and I think it was really successful. I didn't have my supervisor's support. I had my husband's sort of support, but he was kind of like, well, you really should have another job before you jump this one. He had some practical advice, but it didn't matter. I was instructed to do this. And so I came about the analogy of Jesus and his disciples. And he had a small group of disciples, I can't name them right now, that were his closest ones. Yeah.
Three
And
closest ones.
so I decided that like the day after the kids went home, I would talk to kind of my core group of people, my staff. There were like 4 of them. And so I sat them down and I told them told them why, and I told them that I was going to release the information in 3 or 4 days. And so it was really good because it kind of fed the ground, so to speak. It laid the groundwork for the decision going out. They got to share what they were thinking and this and that, and so it was nice because I had a strategy of how to handle it. And then I left, and it was time for them to all go home too. So it was okay. But it was hard. It was a very, very hard decision. It was a decision that came to me out of my gut. I knew I couldn't not do it. And it was tough. And then when I did leave, I really kind of did emotional cutoff from everybody. You know what I mean? I didn't try to contact people and see how they were. And I just kind of stayed back from it for a while because it was probably because of me. But, it was just tough. You kind of have to decide not to poison the waters for the next person, and not to make it, parting can be such sweet sorrow, but you need to let go of it. It was sort of I need to let them process, and I need to stay out of it. So that is I've had several of those in my life, of decisions I had to make that weren't easy. But it wasn't really, because it was so strong in my heart, it wasn't really like I had a choice. I just had to decide, what the next steps were going to be.
That's
Well, I think stepping back is showing wisdom, Sue, because you don't want to be in the fray, because it's not going to accomplish anything. And sometimes stepping back is really the wisest thing to do, right?
Yeah.
You really were trusting your intuition, faith. You were really listening and trusting it. I don't like her title in this chapter 8, The Right Decision Feels Wrong. But I think what she was trying to do is get us to read the chapters and try to argue with it. It does feel difficult, but it also feels right when you're listening to your inner voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like jumping off a bridge.
Right.
Hard decisions are, especially when they're right and it's going against the current.
I bet you didn't sleep well for several nights.
No, but once I made the decision that I was gonna quit, then it kind of just went into strategy. Sometimes it's just, I'm gonna do this. And trust. I guess it's trust. But yeah, it was hard. But I've experienced that at least 2 or 3 times in my life. So I guess that's how a lot of my decisions are made, not my collaborative ones where I get the team to make a decision. But anyway, so that's my story. Someone else have a decision-making one?
Well, at the beginning of the chapter, chapter 8, Mel talks about the gentleman who wrote her a letter and said, I'm supposed to be getting married in a few weeks. I don't know what to do. If I cancel the wedding, it's going to make everybody angry at me. So I can relate to that. I ended up getting engaged when I was 20. I was pretty young. And I remember 3 weeks before the wedding getting cold feet and thinking, this isn't the thing for me to be doing. I don't feel good about this decision. I went and talked to my mom, and she said, honey, many people get cold feet just before they get married. And it's the stress factor of all the things that you're dealing with it right now. But I should have listened to my gut. I went ahead and got married, and 3 children later, he left me for another Sandy. And the pain that was created because I was worried about how it was going to affect everybody else and how it would affect him. And he would have been fine. He would have gotten over it. I was concerned about what people were going to think or say or whatever. I let that be more important than what my gut was telling me. And, I cannot, the thing is, I have 3 beautiful kids and I love them, but so much. I mean, I could never wish them away, but they could have had a different father that maybe would have stayed with them and hung in with them during their growing up years, because they not only did he abandon me, he abandoned the kids. And the relationship always lacked because his commitment was not to his first family. And I have forgiven that, and I have gotten past that. I feel, and there's been some restoration with my children and their dad. But boy, you know what? It was a very high price to pay because I did not listen to what my soul was telling me. Listening to just exactly what you're saying, Sue. When you have something come clearly to mind or to your heart, you better listen to it, because usually that has a lot of wisdom in it that we take for granted.
Honestly, Sandy, I feel in a way you listened. It's just that you needed more time to reflect. So,
Right.
if you had someone who would help you in a process of self-reflection, you may have get to the conclusion. But the thing is, you didn't have someone to guide you through the process. And oftentimes in decision making, there is the fear of being judged by others.
Right.
So how will that person perceive me? How will the community, my family, or my extended family? And that weighs on the decision making process. And again, that's why you need a mentor or a trusted partner to guide you in the decision making process. Believe it or not, all of us, we have deep down, oftentimes we receive that little nudge here and there, and we dismiss it. We don't stop and think about it. So what we need to do is to learn how to listen to that inner voice rather than dismissing it. And I assure you, have you had the opportunity just to reflect on the decision with someone, who would listen to that inner voice and respect it? You would have made the right decision.
And you were young, and that's one thing. If we can go back to how we're teaching kids to be just in the community and not with themselves, maybe we set up things that kids have to make decisions and find out what consequences, you know what I mean? We don't have a process of really teaching them. And you're right, Mishkat, about the self-reflection. Your mom had, what will the people think too, when she gave you her advice. It wasn't because I love you.
The invitations were already out. The church was already booked. I mean, you're talking about the reality of the decision to get married. And I think also part of it is at 20 years of age, it's hard to be humble because you kind of have to prove yourself. So you're thinking, because my dad warned me, he had heard some things about the reputation, and I kind of ignored it. And I said, I thought I knew better than everybody else did. And you're right, Mishkat. If I would have had somebody that I could have touched base with, that could have helped me to break it down. I don't think there was much of that happening at that point in my life, though. At 20 years of age, we didn't have the reflection, self-reflection and stuff that now.
And someone who didn't
do, right?
Someone who didn't have skin in the game. Your mom was pretty vested already, so, and it's hard. It's hard to find a trusted mentor at that age, for sure.
And if it helps, Sandy, I made the same mistake. I did raise the question and I had my observation. Unfortunately, my late mom at the time, she dismissed them. And exactly what you've said, everybody is ready. We are, announce this, how it's not the right call. But I did raise my concerns. And again, that's the thing is here right there. Oftentimes we raise it with family members, just like Sue said, they had some skin in the game. and they will be shooting from
Right.
that perspective. So they are not concerned about the validity of the decision. They are concerned about how it look on them. And that's exactly the point. So even with my nonprofit story, so the decision itself was not the issue. It was how would that decision be reflected on the founder.
Sure.
So again, that's when you need to kind of let go of your personal investment and listen to the person as a partner, as someone who is reaching out to you because they need guidance. And that's the most important part right there. I assure you, had I asked a friend, had I asked my cousin, had I asked anybody else, they would have echoed what my late mom, God rest her soul, said. So finding someone who would listen to you and validate your
Right.
concerns
Well, and
is the key
yeah,
here.
and coaching, my definition of coaching is eliciting best thinking in others.
Mhm.
And that's not the same as giving you advice. You know, as a coach, you should not give advice. You just find out what the person's thinking, and so what are you going to do next? And that is a different kind of talk. We didn't talk like that, you know, years ago. That's
Right.
good.
So, and emotion is tied into that too.
Mhm.
And so that makes it even harder to be able to step back
Mhm.
and not have it land on you on a personal level is, yeah, a lot of feelings. And Mishkat, I'm sure the same way of what you're talking about. You went through a lot of emotions making a decision, and you were trying to actually protect the person in the company, and they never saw it for what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And sometimes those mistakes, you know, like you say, those kids were meant to be born. You know,
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I
that's
wouldn't trade
right.
them for the world. That, you know, that was the wonderful thing that came out of it. But
And they got
my
to learn,
goodness, we all paid the price for that decision.
and they're going to make some decisions that are hard too, and mistakes, and that's called wisdom, isn't it?
Right.
So, Cynthia, have you got a decision story? Or
Well, nothing as profound as Mishkat's yours. um, well, I mean, I probably have. I just couldn't think of anything really profound, but I did have something recently that, again, you have to listen to your heart. And I don't know how many of you are in a book club or have been in a book club, but I've discovered that after a book club has met for, mine has met for about 10 years now, they just break down into gossip at the end of the,
Mhm.
after the book is reviewed or the author has been identified and reviewed. And I just thought, I don't need this book club anymore. And I love the books they come up with. I'm going to ask that they keep me on their list for book recommendations. And I have been their secretary. I write everything up for them, and I send out the books for the year. So I take care of them. But I just feel in my gut, my heart, my voice in my head saying, Cynthia,
Right.
it's a time. And you know what I'm going to do? So it's time to walk away from that book club. And what I'm going to do is create a book discussion of, and I'm going to kick it off at my church with Let Them. And I went to them the other day and I said, I'd like to do a book discussion on Let Them, and whoever wants to come. I think other book
It's a great
discussions
idea.
can come from that, but not call it a book club. Just call
Right.
it a book discussion.
yeah,
So anyway, Sue, I feel excited, and I've kept all your questions that you have guided us with, and I will use those as I guide a new book discussion. So I
Well,
feel really good
yeah.
about it.
So you actually made two decisions. You made
Yes,
the decision to walk away
yes,
at the book club, and then you also made a decision to talk to the secretary at your church and open that. So congratulations.
yeah, it felt really good. And
Yeah,
it just kind of had to work its way through, because at first you go, oh, I can't hurt them. I don't want them to think I'm mad at them. And I'll
good.
I'll be able to, I'll word it well when it comes time. But
And I want to encourage you don't overfunction for the club you're leaving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're leaving it. That doesn't mean you're supposed to do anything. You just
Right.
say, I love you, goodbye.
They'll have to figure out how to let the other people know what they're going to read that month.
That's not your responsibility. And that's part of the hard
Yeah.
part about leaving too. Yeah, good. Okay, well, let's move on to chapter 9, which is Life Isn't Fair. Oh my God, I hate to look at this. I love the line, Life Isn't Fair. Who's got one to start with?
Well, just over and over and over, she kept saying, it's not the hand you're dealt. It's not what Sandy was dealt. And she couldn't change the cards.
Nope.
It's how she played it.
Mhm.
Over and over, Mel said that throughout this chapter. It isn't fair. It isn't. If you could have started this life, I want it perfect. It isn't fair. But how you played it, Sandy, is, and Mishka too, how you played it. And Sue, when you met with your team, how you played it. You didn't hurt anybody or walk away and cut your ties.
Right.
You know, so I don't know. This is a great chapter, and it's something for us all to remember and help others with, because people say a lot, oh, life isn't fair. No.
Yeah. 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 You know, and then I think chapter 10 that we're going into next is going to help us on turning it into a learning experience. But the big part is, you know, forgiving the people involved. I mean, I remember back in high school not getting the lead in the musical that I certainly was the best person for. You know, and this other girl got it. And my story was, of course, Life Isn't Fair. And she had longer hair than me. She did have a pretty voice, but she had no acting ability at all. It was like a stick, you know. And then I was wondering, well, what does the drama and the music teacher see in her that they don't see in me? You know, it's that forgiveness piece. You know, you have to let go of it, but you have to let those emotions flow through you and shut up about it. You can't talk to anybody about it. At least I couldn't. And then, okay, what am I going to learn? And then watch her and enjoy her performance. But tough. I mean, that's tough for that. It's tough when you don't get the job you want. You know, what on earth did they say in that other idiot that I didn't see? I mean, you know, it's just ouch.
Yeah.
You know? So yes, I've had lots of Life Isn't Fair, but I don't think it's my personality to dwell in it too much. You know, I try to move on, but then I can look back on stuff and go, I still look back at that gal in high school and go, what on earth? You know, I did that scene, you know, in my mind.
Have you gone back to high school reunion and encountered her?
Yeah, we were actually really good friends in junior high, so I knew her pretty well. And I don't know, I went to a couple of reunions and I haven't talked to her, you know, but I would never tell her that I didn't think she should have done it. And she probably needed the experience. You know, me, I would have been out there over emoting and, you know, so it was, you know, a little humble pie is always good. But yeah, I mean, that comes up in me, you know, a lot. I think it's human nature, but it's what you do with it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you, Sue. It's totally human nature. But I tell you, again, when the line is being crossed, I have experienced similar situations. The only thing that was different in my story is that the person didn't do like you did. They did not forgive, they did not let go. What they did was they tried to sabotage and
Right.
agitate and all of that. And it was only stemming from the fact that they felt it may not have been true. That's the thing. That I had something they didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the tipping point, or my existence, my skills, my knowledge was a reflection on what they didn't have. So oftentimes I find myself interested in technology, especially when it comes to delivering a class. So I invest a lot in learning about the best tools, how to, utilize them to deliver a learning point for the learner.
Mhm.
Whether that learner is a participant in a training workshop, or whether they are sitting to learn about language and culture, or they are here to learn how to create a nonprofit and lead it through. And oftentimes, when I start using these technology tools, you would see that the dynamic has shifted completely.
Mhm.
You would start seeing the sabotage taking place. I had, an educator who is responsible for adult learning. And I introduced, of course, the concept of transformative learning to help participants and learners take learning beyond the classroom, especially with the topics we were discussing. It's not about, me sitting down lecturing you on XYZ. It's about how can I break XYZ for you to implement
Mhm.
in your day-to-day practice. The leader came back and told me, never use transformative learning again. Don't choose that term. The thing is, if you don't use or apply transformative learning, you end up with transactional learning. So all I do as an educator is to transmit the information to you. And I will end up being lecturing you. That's all what transmission is. But once you create a transformative learning experience by breaking down knowledge to applicable pieces where the learner can take them and apply them, and that learner will be in charge, they are the sole owner,
Mhm.
let's say, of the knowledge and its practice. That's when you start seeing learning take place. Learning needs to transpire. It's not that, memorizing or reciting or sitting there nodding. It
Sure.
means you've learned. Learning is an outcome that the learner practices
So
all the
what,
time.
let me check with
Um,
what I'm hearing. With this, life isn't fair. Somebody else was saying life isn't fair, and you were being
correct.
sabotaged. But actually, the fairness came in your leadership of doing your due diligence and being more prepared,
Correct.
and that other
Correct.
person just was bitter about it.
Yes. And I did just like you did, Sue. First of all, I forgave them. I let go of, all the hurt and damage they caused me. And even when I was equipped with the opportunity to, hurt them or have them pay back, I didn't engage in that process. Not for anything, but I don't think it will yield anything helpful
Mm.
or beneficial. And that's the true concept that I've learned from Let Them about life isn't fair.
Yeah.
It's not that we kind of need to accept the bad hand that we dealt, but what are we going to do to transform
Mhm.
the situation? So if I go back to my other story, which is similar to Sandy's situation, I am blessed with my son, such a, wonderful, joyful young man. He is my best friend now. And together we are growing stronger. Do I go back and think about, let's say, what would had happened? Honestly, not so much. And I try to separate as much as possible. Similarly, I try to separate from the bitterness of any and every professional experience that I had that didn't
Right.
seem fair. Sometimes I hear about these people, occupying a higher position, moving up the ladder. And in my mind, I say to myself, good on them. It's their path, let them have it. I'm focusing
Yeah.
on myself. So focusing on self is the strategy
Mhm.
that kind of keep me grounded and thinking more about how do I move forward? How do I create a better
Yeah.
reality? And by the way, so many of these concepts are in my upcoming book, Unseen,
Yeah.
Unbroken. So I'm hoping to do the final edits this month and then move on to
Uh,
publishing.
Oh, that'd be cool. Very
Thank
nice.
you. Thank you. It means a lot to
we've
me.
got
Thank you.
time for, depending on how long your stories are, at least one more story. Who wants to go?
Go ahead,
Well,
Cynthia.
no, I don't have anything.
Sandy, you going?
Well, there's a couple things that came to mind. When we compare ourselves to others, we're either going to be above or below. And that is not a healthy way to look at life, because what happens is that we quit taking responsibility for what we choose to do, exactly as what Cynthia was saying, is what am I going to do with it? One of the things that my dad used to tell me is that he never did should haves, because he said should haves don't do any good. I should have done this. I should have done that. Other than maybe learning from that. But there's a couple things that came to mind. Um, I always want what I'm learning as a seasoned adult is that I always want to have the comparison be me. How was I yesterday? How have I grown today? What am I doing to make somebody else's life better? What am I doing as far as every day that God gives me? What am I doing to make a difference? And it helps me to keep from looking at other people, because what happens is it really is not beneficial. You can learn to mentor from people that really have it together, and I think it's important to be humble to learn from others. But one of the things that came to mind when I was reading this is there's an old-fashioned word called coveting, wanting something that I didn't earn that somebody else has. And I would say that our society is really having problems with that right now. We look at somebody else and we think, well, why can't I have that? And it's because you didn't do the work possibly to get there. How can you make your life be different? If this is something you want to achieve, then what steps are you going to take to get there? Coveting other people's success, it's just like Mishkat said, saying, blessings to you. I hope it works out well for you, because I believe that it will come back around to me someday, right?
Good.
If we have the attitude of gratitude, that will make a huge difference in how we approach people and how we see things happening with other people and seeing what we do have in our own life. Because we've all been blessed with certain gifts and certain abilities and certain skills that somebody else doesn't have. And what happens is that we miss the boat when we continually look at what everybody else is able to do or what they've achieved or that kind of thing. Bottom line is I've got gifts myself, and being aware of that and seeing how that can be grown in our own
Good.
life.
Good point. Well, let's do a little debrief and talk about what one takeaway from our two chapters today. Somebody want to start?
My takeaway is when you make a decision, follow through on it. Making the right decision is never easy, and you need to be prepared for it. my other takeaway is don't compare yourself to others. Harder, easier said than done. I completely understand. But if your focus and your energy are all on the other person, then you are not investing in yourself. You are investing in that
Yeah. good
person.
point.
So
like that.
focus your energy and your resources on yourself, not on someone else's.
Good, good. Cynthia, take away.
Uh, don't go backwards. You can't change anything.
Mhm.
Don't regret the past. It's over.
It is.
You learned. You learned.
Yeah.
Now move
Right.
on.
Right.
And I am just so grateful every day to have a life that is fun and enjoyable and happy. I set my goal every morning. I'm going to have a happy day. It doesn't always happen. But anyway, I love Sandy's words, an attitude of gratitude.
Yeah.
Just that's
Absolutely.
you
Good.
don't get jealous when you have your own gratitude, that jealousy thing, that was when we were teenagers, remember?
Right.
Mhm.
We're past
Yeah. Right. Junior high.
that. Yeah,
Oh, that was brutal.
yeah. We are learning, and I love this group of 4 beautiful women.
Absolutely. Sandy, take away.
I have a lot yet to learn.
My takeaway is I heard that word humility again. And humility goes before learning. We can't learn unless we're humble. We got to have an open heart to knowing that there's more to tomorrow. Absolutely. Well, ladies, we did 8 and 9, and we're going to do 9 and 10, and we have another session next week. I don't have the date in front of me, but I think it's
10 and
Tuesday.
11.
Pardon? Is it the 11th? I don't know. Anyway, it's next week, and I know it's at 11 o'clock. So I'll send you a reminder.
It's
So,
the 14th at 11 o'clock.
okay, perfect. Thank you, Cynthia. All right. So
Yeah. Yeah.
goodbye, everybody, and hang around so we'll debrief how we did in the process. Okay.
Is it just chapter 10?
Thank you, everyone. I love all of you gals too. What a treat that I get to spend
Mwah.
time with you. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm
Thank you.
gonna
Thank you.
close us off.
Bye, everybody.